Hello! This video is a very quick introduction to 3 Etudes from Chopin. Etude 1 and 2 Opus 25 and Etude 9 Opus 10. I'm sharing a few notes about each of them in the hope that it helps people not familiar with playing the piano to understand what is special about them and appreciate a bit more the genius of Chopin behind these. Chopin wrote a total of 27 etudes. They were intended to practice very specific pianistic challenges while remaining expressive pieces on their own right. For the majority of this etude, the entire piece follows the same structure that is exposed from the very first measure, sometimes even the first beat of the piece. And despite these very rigid structures, Chopin manages to create something that is just delightful to listen to. Playing Etude 1 Opus 25 looks almost as if a mirror had been placed in the middle of the piano. The left hand, playing the bass, and the right hand, playing the upper register, need to play arpeggiated chords in opposite directions. This means that when you play with a fifth in the left hand, you usually play with a fifth in the right hand. When you use a second or a third in the left hand, you usually use a second or third in the right hand. Thumb on the left, thumb on the right. And this is true for almost the entire piece. Just as if one hand was playing in front of a mirror. Here's what this looks like at the beginning. So far, pretty easy. Now, here's where Chopin's evil genius creeps in. First, as we progress through the piece, the chords that need to be played become increasingly stretched. This means that fingers need to play notes progressively further apart and sometimes jump to reach some of the notes. And yet, everything needs to continue to sound light and effortless. On top of that, Chopin adds a very simple one-note melody played with the fourth or fifth finger of the right hand. And that's perhaps where resides the main challenge for the pianist. To be able to play continuously this calm, expressive melody with just one finger, and no matter what the other fingers are busy doing, no matter how far the pianist has sometimes to jump to catch that note, part of the melody, and yet never make it sound as if it were rushed. Etude 1 Opus 25 had both hands essentially do the same thing at the same time. Etude 2 Opus 25 is the opposite. It practices the independence of movements between the two hands. The upper register played by the right hand is more busy. The right hand plays twice as many notes as the left hand. Half of the beats of the right hand happen when no notes is being played in the left hand. The right wrist makes small and fast circles, while the left wrist is making long ones. Even the fingers of both hands do very different things. On the right hand, they play notes that are typically next to each other, going back and forth, up and down, almost stepping on each other continuously, while the left hand is more stretched out. As a result, when you play the hands separately, you pretty much have nothing in common. Here is how the right hand sounds. A sort of incessant flight of a bee. And here is how the left hand sounds. More like a peaceful, melancholic valse. Basically, not much really in common between these two hands. So much so that when you put the two hands together, it almost sounds as if it should not work. Until you play them at the right tempo, and then the magic happens. Apart from the independence of the hands, the other challenge is to keep the touch even, no matter whether the note is played with a long or short finger, whether the fingers play black or white keys, whether the fingers need to stretch or on the contrary, play next to each other. As with many of Chopin's delicate etudes, Chopin throws challenges at the pianist, but the pianist should make it seem as if they were not there. Etude 9 Opus 10 is a more tormented etude than the previous two. The melody is in the right hand again. Again, just a single note being played. The main difficulty is with the bass played at the left hand. The left hand needs to play very long stretches and remain delicate, fast and precise at the same time. And the poor third finger finds itself taken in the crossfire between the fifth and the thumb, having to play every other note, and that during the entire etude, never taking a single break.